Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Real Estate Situation Room, the debate with the professionals, initiative by IPS. IPS stands for International Property Show, an amazing enterprise by Dubai Land Department and Strategic. My name is Federico Fernandez. I'm your host tonight, or this afternoon. I'm project director of IPS and Dubai Property Show, reference events that take place at Dubai and other capital cities around Middle East and Asia. I personally have been connected to real estate sector at 2008 crisis with a tremendous portfolio, I will say around 500 million euros on touristic residential units across Portugal, Spain, and Brazil. All my buyers were on the north of Europe, and I remember that one of the things that we started to do immediately, besides cutting expenses, was to travel, to meet our partners, to listen, and to rethink. Yes, we are now living very difficult times, but we also know that sooner or later we will get back to your usual business. So these are precious times where we should meet, where we should gather information, where we should reimagine the future, and reformulate our comeback to the market. We cannot travel now, but we can empower IPS and DPF amazing database. As you can see, we have a lot of real estate professionals around here with over 200 registrations. We are now closing to 100 seats here and over 15 countries. So just say hi on the chat here. Say where are you from. You're very much welcome. And please be attentive to this screen here, this tab where we have the questions. So place your questions at the tab, and I will shoot together with my invitees amazing pools for us to respond. Well, now it's time to call our first panel on board. We will speak with Paula Gambrell. She's head of business strategy for Ellington Properties. We also have Richard. Let me push them while I present them. Let me see, so many people, I cannot see Paula. Okay, Paula is now on his way to the stage. We also have Sahid Hassan. Sahid, how are you? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm good, thank you.
Very good. Let's wait for the rest. Hi, Paula. How are you? Good afternoon.
Hi, Federico.
We are now missing Richard. That should be
Hi, Federico.
in the corner. Here it is. Richard is on stage.
Hi, Federico.
Hello. I will start for the ladies, of course. Paula, present a little bit about yourself and the status of Ellington Properties right now at the moment.
Sure. I mean, first of all, thank you so much for having me here on this discussion. I hope everyone is staying safe and doing well. My name is Paula Wehby Gambrell. I look after the business strategy for Ellington Group. Ellington Properties is a 6-year-old company that successfully positioned itself in the market as a design-led boutique developer. Our focus is always on providing our clients efficient yet modern homes that elevates their lifestyle and makes their home memories more enjoyable. Obviously, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Continue.
So I should start from the beginning.
Yes, please.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for having me on here, Federico and team. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. My name is Paula Wehby Gambrell. I look after the business strategy for Ellington Group. Ellington Properties is a 6-year-old company. Most professionals in at least the UAE real estate now know of us. We've successfully positioned ourselves in the market as a design-led boutique developer. Our focus has always been on providing our clients efficient yet modern homes. And that's pretty much about Ellington. I mean, obviously, we're looking to grow more the business, not only in the UAE, but also in international markets. So these are things that we're working on right now.
Fantastic. Paulo, how are you assessing this situation right now?
I mean, honestly, what we are going through right now is probably beyond anything that the human race has ever been exposed to, at least in the last century. I mean, we humans take time to adapt, and this experience will make us change the way we do business, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I actually think it's a good thing. I see things that we challenge certain operational processes right now, and I feel that it's going towards the right direction. It will definitely allow us to make these changes, and it will allow our customers to accept these changes as well. I'm hopeful this will get better in the coming month or two, especially with the increased testing and measurements taken by the government, and considering that Ramadan is generally always a slow month. So I'm hoping that we will overcome this post-Ramadan and business will kickstart again.
Fantastic. I'm just starting to publish a pool. Paula just said that you are hopeful, and I think most of us are hopeful, and myself, I'm creative. So I'm publishing now a pool there on the tab of the pools. If somebody wants to explore and give their opinion with us, I will call Richard now. Richard, can you introduce yourself and address Better Homes?
Yeah, thanks, Federico. And again, thank you for having us, and thank you for putting this on. I think it is important during these times that as a community, as an industry, that we get together and we talk and we share ideas and we share thoughts. So thank you, Federico. I'm Richard Wayne, Better Homes. Some of you may have heard of Better Homes. We're a 34-year-old brokerage house here in the UAE, which for Dubai standards, UAE standards, makes us a fairly well-established company. We often say before the Burj Al Arab and before the marina, there was Better Homes working in the Jumeirah area. I've not been with the company 34 years, you can possibly guess, but I have been in the industry for 17 years, most of that time back in the UK. And I actually started my career in property and real estate just at the tail end of the .com bust. I've lived through some good times, some very, very good times, and also through some very difficult times, such as obviously the last financial crisis. I agree. This is This is a situation, economic situation, and a humanitarian situation that we haven't really experienced before, and we're all learning as we go through this. But what I do think, experience as a brokerage such as Better Homes over 34 years, and myself. That experience does give you a little bit of perspective, I think. I think it does give you a bit of confidence that we will get through this. We will see the light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully in the not too distant future, and there will be better days ahead. I'm sure there will be. So, Frederick, I think you're on mute.
I think everybody can listen to me now. So I will get back to you. Good to know that most of the people in our poll feel creative. It's time to reimagine the future. I call Sahid Hassan to stage. Thank you very much for coming. Tell us a little bit about you and about ASBK Real Estate.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Shahid, and I represent SBK Real Estate. The company was founded by my father. For the past decade, I've been kind of heading the business strategy and in terms of the business development and expansion plans. Definitely, we are almost like a 25-year-old company and manage close to 150 buildings throughout Dubai and Northern Emirates, maybe close to 10,000 keys at the moment. And definitely these moments are challenging. In terms of the pandemic, is something which nobody has experienced, or any sort of experience would not count for current measures. Definitely, we need to reinvent the wheel and see how we can move through these challenging times in terms of supporting our landlords as well as our tenants, and trying to negotiate in terms of how we can support our tenants by considering giving them check holding options, or in terms of rental discounts, so that they can move ahead through these tough periods. We are primarily into the property management sector. That's our core area of focus. But these days, definitely we are encouraging clients and everything to pay online. That's some of the measures that we have taken in terms of helping tenants to change strategies in terms of visiting offices or in terms of licensing our staff as well, giving whenever there are maintenance requests coming through or whatever it is, we encourage to only go for the absolute necessary work. These are some of the initiatives that we have taken, and yeah, that's about it for now.
Very good, thank you, Said, very much for participating again. I will now make a question for everybody. I can see that the chat is very active. We have now over almost 100 people sitting, and most of them are from the business sector, so they are very active promoting themselves. I wish that you can be also very creative on the questions, so place your questions that you have here an exciting panel. We have one developer, one big real estate company, facility management. So all the questions are with this legend. So let's be brave and ask the questions. And by the way, the pool for answering the pool is anonymous. So be free to answer the pool. There is absolutely no problem. So Paula, I'm going to get back to you. One of the questions, the first thing that we had was, which country is your development? I think you only Ellington Properties are based in Dubai. Let's speak about your customers. The customers are from all over the world. How is their behavior right now?
I mean, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, customers are careful at the moment, and we're being very supportive. You have a few clients who necessarily don't want to. They require flexible payment plans just to kind of maneuver through the situation, which we're very appreciative of, and we're helping as much as we can, but we do it on exceptional basis based on what we see the situation is. But other than that, I mean, in terms of new business, there's definitely a change in the market scenario. It's expected, and I think it will take time for people to adapt to the new processes and the new way of doing business. And I think it is not just for the clients to adapt to that, but also for us as real estate experts, basically, in the market, as to how we help them go through this new change of doing business.
Do you think that your customers will arrive in waves according to where COVID-19 will start to be relaxed? I know that you have a lot of customers from China. You're very popular in China. What do you think?
Actually, that's absolutely correct. We've already started seeing a positive activity coming through China market. Since we've met last time, I told you one of our biggest markets is China. So obviously, since January, when the coronavirus hit initially only in China, we've had that drop in business. But we've started now activating our marketing in China, and we've started seeing business coming through that channel, especially that business was purely based on online channels. So they were very dependent on, our property consultants showing them through WeChat, our show apartments, showing them through our, 360 views and 3D marketing tools, the apartments and the layouts and the details of the apartments, and accordingly transacting online.
Richard, do you want to elaborate on this? Where your customers come from? You have investors, you have end users that want to find their home. How is the behavior right now?
Yeah, I mean, so we're sort of a 360 all-encompassing full-service brokerage. So we do off-plan, we also do secondary sales and leasing. Predominantly, our customer base is here in the UAE, and obviously the challenge for that customer base is getting out and seeing properties at the moment. So that's been the biggest impact into customer activity, I guess. What we are seeing is there are, in leasing in particular, we're starting to see a pickup in terms of leads coming through, and we have now in place working with RERA and getting online Ajari sorted out, so we can now facilitate a leasing transaction end to end without having to meet somebody, which is good. We're starting to see those leasing numbers come up. Lockdown, people being locked in their properties, does get the mind thinking a little bit in terms of the property you're living in and the space you're enjoying. And we are certainly seeing a bit of an increase in inquiries coming in from people in apartments looking for villas and that side of things. We also do obviously have an international clientele. With travel restrictions, that's placed a bit of an impact into that, both in the off-plan and the secondary market. The DLD have brought in new processes to allow us to do international transfers without a POA here in Dubai, which is great, and it's been very, very welcomed. I do hope that's something that continues after things open up. But we, like all businesses, are looking for opportunities to continue doing business with the client base, both here and internationally. We've launched in the last couple of weeks a couple of projects in the UK, one in Liverpool and one in Cardiff, for domestic investors here in Dubai who might be looking for a bit of a hedge, somewhere to diversify their portfolios while we're going through this, and potentially take advantage of some of the strength in the dollar. So that's proved positive, and people purchasing investment properties don't necessarily have the desire or the need to go and sort of feel it, touch it, as you would do if you were going to buy something or rent something you're going to live in yourself. So we are seeing some changes. We're seeing that digitalization of the process come in. But interestingly, I would say, from talking to a lot of tenants, talking to a lot of buyers, there is still a lot of people out there playing a wait and see game until they can get back out and they can physically view properties. So certainly, I don't think we are seeing a total digital takeover. A lot of people are still sitting on their hands and waiting until they can get back out there to do viewings.
Very good, Richard. Thank you. Saeed, I will now pass to you. And you are in between two worlds, the world of investor, the tenants, and trying to do the best for both parties. How are you seeing the changes on a daily basis?
At the moment, as far as the leasing perspective is concerned, we can say that definitely there is a significant drop in the leasing inquiries. I think it's purely due to the fact the city or worldwide, we are under 24 hours lockdown. So the physical movement is definitely affected. People are staying at home as much as possible, as advised, for their own safety. And even though, yes, there are moments like online portals offering 360-degree views or virtual listings and everything coming up. Yes, these do enable us to physically see the property online. But I think the physical perspective of actually the touch, feel, look, location, I think that still stays, and that is going to stay for now. So the tenants definitely, I mean, there is a significant drop in terms of the leasing till the pandemic. The lockdowns are lifted and things go into normalcy. And as far as the tenants actually renewing contracts as well, we can see that it's affected. Day by day, there is job losses, there is salary cuts, and that is definitely taking a toll on the payment, the processing of the payments. We are trying to facilitate or support our tenants in terms of extended payment plans or holding checks wherever within our limitations. At the same time, we are trying to push landlords as well to support so that we can pass this on to our tenants. And yes, the RERA is also facilitating online, moving of transactions, or the government is definitely heads on when it comes to supporting businesses. So we are looking for constant support, and we're hoping things would ease off as soon as possible.
Fantastic. What a great role it is to be in the middle and try to help either tenants and investors. We have a lot of people here that are either investors or working for real estate sector worldwide, and I guess they also have assets and investors. Saeed, I will ask you this. You have almost 10,000 keys in your hand. Investors are most of them quite calm because the storm will pass, but tenants are much more worried, and they can be also future clients. So you are dealing case to case. Just to give a case study for all people that are listening, you have your team assessing case by case.
Exactly. Case to case. Where there are real genuine cases of job loss or with the salary cuts, then we try to look into them and offer whatever support we can within our limits, and pass it on to the tenants so that they can ease off this period during the pandemic, and they can survive through, because it's a chain. I mean, everybody needs to support each other for us to move through this pandemic.
And how about the investors? Are some worried because their asset will depreciate, or
definitely we need to do a fair play between the landlords as well as the tenants. So most of the times when the landlords are getting bank loans or anything, so these days the government is also asking the banks to support the individual businesses or SMEs or corporations to extend that facilities onto the customers. So we are hoping that as time passes, this would be the norm.
Fantastic. I'm going to pass the ball to Paula. Meanwhile, I'm going to launch another poll because we have been discussing here, will business behavior change? And what are the changes that we are receiving right now or perceiving right now in the market? So one more pool. The other one is still very interesting. So the win is between confident and creative. Paula, I know that you are very confident on your product. It's with a very good reputation. So this is a time for us to be together. I'm talking about the people who are selling your products. We have a lot of real estate brokers here on our delegates. So what actions are you doing with to maintain all this traction that you need to have in commercial side, and at the same time address your customers' issues regarding future projects?
I mean, obviously, we're trying to evolve considering everything that's happening right now. So we're digitizing a lot of our processes. So we've recently, for example, agreed with Dubai Land Department that at least temporarily we will accept digital sales and purchase agreements, so that we avoid, that interaction of clients having to come in or courier any documents, especially that they're usually bulky documents. We're even looking at how to refine these documents, make them simple and easy to go through for clients. I mean, other than that, in terms of all sales tools, we're looking at how do we make sure that we have the right sales tools that can help all our employees as well as our customers to connect with us and have the right mechanism to see our properties, experience what we have to offer. Now, I understand this does not replace the current scenario or what people are used to, and this is why I started by saying it takes time for humans to be able to adapt. I'm just hopeful that with this change, it will allow us to challenge the status quo across many of our operations and say, why do we need to do it? We should not agree just because this is how we used to do it. We should look at new ways to doing business, basically.
Very good. We have here, one of the things is that on the poll, people are agreeing with unanimous that 94% people believe that business in future is going to change. I know that you are very much supported on the quality feature, but what do you think is going to happen with the developers that are on the market on a lower position regarding this situation?
I honestly think, every market is a pie and everybody gets their share, and you have clients of different segments and different needs. So it really depends on what your budget is, what is your priorities in life, and what is important to you. And on the basis of that, you select which developer you want to go with. So I wouldn't say their operation or their attraction in the market would be different, really. It's just a matter of how much they also evolve in the current market conditions and how open they are to doing business in new way. And obviously going after the target segment thereafter.
One more thing before I pass the ball to Richard. There's a lot of help coming from government everywhere, inclusive here. I think governments are being our best friends. And that means probably, do you think that we will have a lot of equity on the market, especially from the banking side to end users? Do you think that might be an opportunity for the future?
I mean, I don't know if you've read the recent article, but central bank have issued a certain value of equity for all banks to, continue to support the market economy. I mean, that's a very good sign. I've personally seen recent transactions happening with us, especially with a project that we've handed over, even though I thought this will be disrupted by what's happening right now. I definitely think the government is doing a lot to support the economy and try to sustain it till at least, it picks up again and kicks off for all businesses.
Fantastic. Richard, I'm going to pass the ball to you now and make the same question. How are you balancing in between the need to sell and also the need to accommodate your customers and tenants' requests? Tell me.
I suppose in my seat, there's a third element there. It's the needs of my staff as well in what's, a very, very challenging time for them. So, yeah, look, we're a business, we're a commercial entity. We need to find a way through this by continuing to do as much business as we possibly can. But we also need to take a mid to long-term view on things. We've got long-term clients, we've got long-term suppliers that we need to make sure that we are supportive to. And as you say, that there are tenants out there, much like probably many people on this call, who are finding times difficult. It is a case-by-case thing when it comes to tenants. I think there is a little bit of a misconception out there that brokers and property managers have the power to give rent reductions. We don't. It is the landlord's property that we were talking about, and we're an intermediary with a third party. We will advise landlords, as we have been doing, to take a pragmatic approach at the moment to make sure that if you have a good quality tenant in a property who has been paying their rent up until this point but has fallen on hard times, we are encouraging our landlords to to offer, where possible, some relief to those tenants and make sure that they can stay there for a longer period of time. Similarly, as I said, for us, it's important that we take care of our teams, take care of our staff. We will come out of this, and we'll come out of this period, I hope, in the not too distant future. And I suspect there's quite a lot of pent-up demand in the market today, mainly in leasing, but certainly also in sales. And when we come out of it, we want a strong, motivated sales team to go out there and attack that. So we need to make sure that our teams are engaged at the moment. They're still motivated. They're still doing all the right things, which is making sure they're talking to a lot of people. They are having intelligent conversations. They're not being overly forceful. They're not being too salesy at the moment. So I don't think that's appropriate for the current market. But we're also making sure that we're doing things for their wellness and their peace of mind as well. So we've got lots of things happening throughout the week around fitness and other elements that just keep the staff engaged, keep the staff, because some of our team, like I'm sure, again, some people on this call might be living alone in a flat and haven't actually had too much interaction with anybody else for a period of time. And I think there is a responsibility on businesses to both look after our customers, but also look after our people.
I remember, I think that you just answered one of the questions from Mahmoud. I remember in 2008 where nobody knew what to do. The ones that had money didn't know what to do with it, and the ones that used to had lost it. The brokers went outside to scout for properties and look for the best options. Now your best guys are at home. So it's a very difficult challenge. Besides all those motivating, because we will need them in the future, what can they do? What can you recommend to all our delegates here for them to do while they are at home? The contact with clients?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple of questions come through that are along those sort of lines. What can we do? If I'm new into the business, what can we do this time? You need to be as productive as you possibly can be, whilst sticking to the stay-at-home message from the government, which is the right thing to do. So not going out there doing business. We've given our teams the tools that they can transact digitally. We've got video walkthroughs for a lot of our listings and all those sort of things. But really,
I think that we lost Richard.
Oh, hiya.
Yeah, Richard, are you still there?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Hello, Richard.
Can you hear me?
Okay, so I'm going to pass the ball while Richard is trying to reconnect. Sahid, we have here, we necessarily need to get into the, are you listening?
Yes, I am.
Good. These new things I still have this kind of connectivity problems. Richard, I'm going to call you later to continue with that. Let me continue with Sahid while he recovers his connection, his network. Sometime we need to understand we don't have a crystal ball, and we hear a lot of people addressing the issue regarding is this crisis going to have a V shape, a U shape? Why don't we are discussing a W shape? So when do you think that this, regarding the psychological effect of the COVID start to dilute, when do you think that this we can come back to some normality? Let's say as the asset value come back to some normality, less than 1 year, more than 1 year, over 2 years. I'm launching a poll about this now.
I think we would be looking at least a year's time for things to recover completely, or people to generally be as human beings have a tendency to move on, whether it's our personal experience or whether it's work-wise or whether it's as the pandemic. I mean, with time, all this would pass. That's what time has shown us. So I'm sure this would pass, but yes, we are looking at least at a time span of a year for this to move out gradually and things to come back into normalcy.
So you are addressing the prices of assets and also the value for renting?
Yes, in terms of renting, I would say that definitely for units that have good location in terms of good space layouts, they always have certain demand. We have seen in every market, whether it's in the recession or whether it's in a good market, there's always demand for good units. I think even though I'm not the expert here, I would say that even for sales-wise, always for quality developers, for good units, there's always going to be a certain demand in any market or in any given condition.
So the most developed markets, the quality and location will be the first ones to recover easily.
Yes, exactly. Quality and location is the key factors, I would say.
So you will answer for this poll less than 1 year, let's say.
Yeah, we would say yes.
Okay, I will bring back Richard. Richard, are you listening?
I am, Frederico. Sorry about that. I'm not quite sure what happened.
Richard is still out. Paula, I'm going to do the same question regarding assets. Sahid already gave the hint. So quality assets will not be as problematic as that in prime positions.
Frederico?
Yes?
I think all of us can actually hear Richard.
Oh, I'm the only one.
It seems so, because we can hear him. Even earlier, he was quite clear.
I'm just chatting away.
Yeah.
Let me just make a moment to see if the connection goes okay from all parties.
So I'm even looking at the chat, and it seems most of the people are able to hear him. So.
Okay. So give us 1 more minute to see if Richard can come back again. Paula. Richard.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, now perfectly. I lost you, and now unfortunately I was the only one not listening. So
you missed some great stuff, Federico.
Yes, I bet I will. I did, because it's very important to hear those action tips from your side. So let me just make a new question to you regarding, because while you were speaking and conducting very well, we just addressed here a poll saying that how much time will assets value take to recover to prices before COVID-19? Less than 1 year, more than a year, over 2 years. What do you think?
Look, I suppose the first point to say, and that is values here in Dubai prior to Corona were offering great value anyway. You know, we'd seen property prices coming down from a peak in 2014, and we were starting to see both domestically and internationally a real increase in demand for property here, and that was led by value. So, you know, we're starting from a fairly low base in terms of capital values. Do I think they'll be affected? Yes, I think undoubtedly in the short term. And how long will that effect go on for really is a product of how long does the immediate lockdown situation we're in go on for. I would hope that when things are lifted, actually people will rebound quite quickly. I think, although whilst I suspect we may have a longer period of time while we are finally trying to beat this virus, I think there will be a period of time while we work around it, for want of a better phrase. And I think people adapt very quickly, and I think the market will adapt relatively quickly. And I think demand will return. So I on your poll, and I think I heard my other panelists say around a year, I think that's probably about right. I think we will start to see transaction levels recover at the back end of the summer. And I would expect to see, of course, the other element here in Dubai is supply coming in. We've got a fair amount of supply this year, but I think that might be a little bit subdued compared to what it would have been. And I suspect really we'll see the market return to the sort of volumes and frothiness that we were seeing, I would hope, by Q4, or if not Q1 2021.
Very good. So I'm passing the ball now to Paula. Paula, many of the delegates here are also addressing the fact that the global economy is going down, and but as Sahid said, there will be cities, countries, there will be different places, and they all will have different kind of performance. And in fact, here where we are all seated in Dubai, and we are lucky enough to be, we will see. We know that not everything depends on real estate. Many things depend on the amazing initiatives from the government, and for example, for the effort that will be pushed in place by players in tourism, for example, that will bring this. So you are expecting also this can contribute to have a faster rebound in UAE, right?
Sorry, repeat. So if you can just repeat the last part.
You are expecting that all these elements, all these vectors, tourism, airline, will bring very quickly the customers in, right? The rebound will be.
I mean, if you look at the history of real estate transactions, it's been mainly more, at least in the last couple of years, it's mainly more international buyers. So, and this is purely from, I would say, it's an element of tourism, because by people coming into the country, they realize, they get hooked onto the lifestyle, they like the city, and either they themselves take the decision that they want to invest or buy, a second home, or even tell friends and family and accordingly bring them to the city. So I would think business coming back on track, going to the earlier question, is dependent on the lockdown. I agree completely with Richard, but it's also dependent on the travel ban. If the travel is allowed back into the country, that's when I think it will speed up the economy kind of kicking back to stability.
I will launch the next pool, and the next pool, it's something that I think that we all are expecting is, when will distressed asset investors make a move? When do you think, Paula?
I think you already see that at the moment. I mean, at least I've seen it in the last 1 week. I think the first 2 to 3 weeks, it was completely silent, because people were still not aware of what was going on. So everybody was trying to understand what was happening. But I already see these investors coming in and saying, this is how much I'll pay for this property, take it or leave it, kind of discussions. Obviously, it might take more time, and it will be more on the ready property rather than off-plan properties, just because they want to make immediate returns on their investments. But I see that happening already. And I think it will increase the more people adapt to what is happening and realize that it's going to take a bit more time than just a week or two.
Well, what do you tell the brokers that comes to you and with those proposals? Do you tell them that you're a different case because you're selling high profile quality, but what do you usually tell them? Maintain on the line, or just we will speak on later on?
No, to be honest, I think generally our prices are the same, and we've been very well known that in terms of our price per square foot has always been lower than the market in the communities that we sell in. However, having said that, we're also a business that needs to continue and manage So typically when we have such discussions, like any other business owner, we say, put the check on the table and then let's speak and discuss the prices. Obviously, there is a certain limit to what you can go down to, but this is something that happens today, especially if it's a bulk deal.
Sahid, you were very much experimented with investors. You were also one investor yourself. When you expect this to happen, and they will always buy apartments to rent because it's a good business now and in the future, right?
People would always buy, but due to the current pandemic situation, I would say we are looking at least at 6 months. Anytime after 6 months is what I would say that investors would actually make a move, because nobody's able to predict how this is going to actually impact the economy in terms of whether it's the business or the stakeholders. So I think we are looking at least at a 6 months timeline for us to have more clarity. Even if you're getting the best deals, we don't know whether the market is going to take, when exactly is that touch point when the market is going to get back on track. Yeah, this is what I would say.
Do you think that also the availability, we're talking about equity from own investors, probably
Yes.
they'll prefer to leave it where it is. And with this offer from the banks, do you think that might change a little bit and investors might come out with debt?
Yeah, but at the moment, I think the cash is the king. So everybody would be holding on at least for some time till things go back into normalcy and we see business flourishing and people getting back onto their usual lives. And even if you have money, you would be holding on to it just to wait it out. So I would say that even if you have the best deals out in the market, and even if the banks were to offer you really good deals, I think you would still wait it out for up to at least 6 months.
Richard, do you want to comment on this?
Yeah, look, I think it's always dangerous, sort of, giving everyone the same brush into the way they react. I mean, we've sold a couple of units in the last couple of days, predominantly to investors who see this as the opportune time. Of course, it's like any cross section of society. Some people are running for the hills, and the last conversation they want to have is with somebody about property. Some people, as you say, absolutely are playing a bit of a wait and see game, but other people are seeing this as the time to try and get the best deals if you are cash rich. And frankly, waiting 6 months for the whole market to realize that the corner has been turned, you're probably then going to miss out on those best opportunities. Now, that's not the correct strategy for everybody, and I understand that, but that's certainly for the opportunistic investors out there. They will be, and we are talking to a number of them, they will be out there looking to try and get that first move advantage, I think.
So this is also, let's say this is for investors or people who are very much aware of the market. And this is also where companies like yours are of such of importance, because you can also advise end users when the right time to move, right? Because end users, they are not used to buying apartments every day. They have probably thought about buying an apartment in Dubai or in England for their retirement. This is where you come in also and try to assess the situation. What you will tell them?
Yeah, I mean, look, from an end user point of view, for somebody buying a home rather than just buying an investment, my advice is always similar. Is A, can you afford it? Is it something you can see yourself living in for a medium to long term, not something just for the short term? And B, do you think it's good value for what you're paying today? And if you're ticking those 3 boxes, then I would encourage people to move on with their lives and buy a property and move in. I don't know what tomorrow brings as much as anybody else, but I do know that there is great value to be found today. There's good mortgages to be found today, and all the rest of it. I am, don't get me wrong, I'm not surprised, and a lot of those end users are waiting out the next couple of weeks to get actually out and about and back into the world, as it were. And I think we will find out in a couple of weeks, hopefully, rather than a matter of months, certainly the sort of shorter term impact that this lockdown has had on jobs, and therefore, the wider economy here in Dubai. I'm a believer, a mid-term, long-term believer in Dubai, and I think we'll get out this well in the long term. I think whilst I suspect we will see a bit of a reduction in the number of residents here in the short term. When as the flights open up, some people will leave, of course. I actually think in the mid to long term, Dubai might be a bit of a net gainer in terms of residents and people coming to live here, because this is a global pandemic, as we all know, and it's affecting every country in the world. And Dubai has often and always, I think, been seen as a bit of an opportunity place to come and work. And I wouldn't be surprised if the midterm, not meaning in the next month or two, but I mean sort of next 6 months, 12 months, we actually see a bit of a net gain in Dubai off the back of this.
Sahid, do you see any question that you would like to recommend while I push another poll? Sahid? Okay, Sahid is not answering to me. Paula, do you see any question that you would like to address?
Probably the e-signatures with DLD from Diego.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I mean, the question is, do developers and investors want this implemented now? And I'm a strong believer of the digital world. It is happening already in other markets. It's obviously very new for Dubai and Dubai courts and generally the UAE courts. Even though right now it's temporary, when I say that the signatures challenge that process after we go through this pandemic, and I definitely see it as a positive change to the market, considering that today you look at the buyers, you have the majority are from international markets. So why do you want to make the transaction be more difficult to complete?
Very, very good. So we're going to launch a final question to everybody. And the question is, we have been talking about COVID-19, of course, and all this stress that we are living to, but the market is also full of bad news and speculation. There is business going around. We understood that by Richard. We can understand also, Paula, that you have also international contacts rebounding. We can see that Sahid is very precautious, but preparing for a quick rebound. So where can we decrease the gap between this perception and the reality? Sahid, you're the first one.
Yes, I would say in terms of the perception between the reality and normalcy, as you mentioned, we could say that we are looking at least, as I said, for some time for things to get back to normalcy. We are hoping the prices would. You mean in terms of prices or in terms of? I mean market recovery.
This market recovery. There is.
Yeah. So the market recovery, again, as I said, there is going to. It would definitely happen, but it's going to happen gradually. And again, in terms of long-term investors, definitely people would invest no matter what. But in terms of short-term investors or people who are looking to create short-term benefits, I think that is out of the question for the time being. And when it comes to the rental market, definitely there is going to be more bargains out there. Better deals are going to come through, maybe more flexible payment plans, and we're going to see definitely more tight competition as more units are expected to be delivered this year.
I can see that you are very cautious on analyzing the strategy. Are you preparing to rebound even stronger?
Yes, definitely. We are trying to pass on all sort of benefits onto our tenants. So we are ensuring that they have better payment plans. They are given better pricing, more flexibility in every manner possible for the new clients as well as existing clients.
Thank you, Said, for participating with us. I'm going to pass the last question also to Richard. Richard, you've told us already that you are worried, you are creative, you are working, business is running. How can we also send a message to the market that not everything is is bad? How can we separate, decrease the gap between perception and reality?
Well, I think I'm a very positive guy, it may come across, but I also think we have to be realistic. You know, these are challenging times, and we all need to prepare for that. But that being said, challenging times creates opportunity. You know, the world of investors, the world of business is littered with stories of companies and people in challenging times doing very well, swimming against the tide and coming out of it better and stronger. I think markets like this force us to get better, force us to deliver better service, force us to look for better technologies, because if you don't, you won't survive. And I think markets and industries, don't get me wrong, nobody needs coronavirus, nobody needs this in the world, but actually shocks to the market and tougher times in the market do mean businesses and people come through them better, I think. So, you know, from that side, people need to look for those silver linings. I think there are investors out there who will see this as an opportunistic time. And as I say, I think certainly we can see that there's quite a lot of pent-up demand in the market at the moment, waiting to get out there, waiting to get back on the street, back into properties to predominantly rent, but also to purchase. So whilst it is a challenge, it's difficult, and I'm sure there are people on this call going through some difficult times. I think, you know, we've got to remember that this won't last forever. We will be out and about, out of our homes in the not too distant future. And I think the world, whilst I do think there will be some knock-on effects, and you know, certain things will take a long time to change back. I suspect next time I meet somebody and offer my hand for a handshake, I might get a slightly funny look for quite some time. But you know, the world will adapt. The world and business will adapt. And as I say, you know, if you do the right things now and you take these opportunities now to look at your business, look at yourself individually, you know, you can come out of this in a strong position. Because, you know, frankly, I think there will also be some consolidations in our marketplace and probably also in the developer marketplace, which will create opportunities for companies as well.
Thank you, Ricardo, for participating. I'm going to say goodbyes on this first panel with Paula. Paula, how can we minus this gap in between, because something is happening, businesses are still running. Need to motivate ourselves.
Sorry, can you repeat the question,
yes.
Federico? Your voice was cutting.
The question was, the market is full of bad news. We are seeing a lot of speculation only. Sometimes it looks like it's only, for example, here, only the government is doing things, and we don't see the words from the private organizations, but they're working very hard. And some of them, like Richard, for example, said, are doing some business. Like Saeed said, that they're doing their best for the investors, for the tenants. So which kind of message should we pass to people to motivate them and to bring them back to work?
I mean, honestly, the way I see it is never giving up. This is the time where you have to work, you know, extra hours. I had a client tell me, I told him I'm sending you a proposal on a Friday, and he said, do you work on Fridays? And I said, well, I'm at home, so you know, it doesn't matter what day I send you something. I think this is a very challenging time. It can be very tough for a lot of people, but I always say this: you have to be positive, because this has to end. It will end, even if it takes time. And it is only a matter of how you get out of it. Like Richard said, this will show who are the strong players in the market. Even with consolidations, it will show who are the strong businesses that manage to survive it by doing creative things. So definitely it's about, you know, having your own self-motivation, having certain targets, whether it's even small targets that you want to try achieve one at a time. But that's something that everybody should be working towards to go through this situation.
Paul, I don't resist to go to ask you this. You've been on this business for a long time. You've seen other crises around, and people are asking if tourism and expo postponing will short demand. But what do you think?
Sorry, so if the expo will...
The postponing of the expo will take some effect on demand, and if tourism is ever to come back?
I mean, considering everything that's been happening even before the coronavirus pandemic, the economy was slowing down. There has been a bit more oversupply. So I think, yes, by delaying Expo 2020 by a year, it gives the market more time to kind of realize, the requirements for Expo 2020, and it will help investors be able to get their returns on whatever investment they've put into their properties.
Fantastic. Paula, thank you very much for being here with us. It was very useful to receive the perspective of a developer. Thank you, Richard, very much for being with us. Sahid, was amazing to be here and understand what can investors expect, how they are performing. And I'll see you around. And for the other speakers and the delegates that are here on this on the living room, we're going to pass us a video. I hope that Crystal is hearing me. We're going to pass a video while I push other speakers on board. We're going to speak about disruptiveness. We're going to speak, as I saw here, about prop tech. So which kind of innovations are we bringing to real estate so that our life, so that we can sell more and so that we can be closer to our clients, even in times of like this, times of where we need to be resilient. So give me some time that I will push the other speakers. So the other speakers will be Ahmed Indigov, so he's Executive Director of Indigov Consulting, Awais Akhtar from Etis Dubai, Fauzan from Realty Eye 360. Okay. Crystal, you can pass the video for one of our initiatives, IPS, if you are listening to me, while we push people on board. Okay, the webinar is still not over. I think that you can still listen to me. I'm trying to push speakers on stage, but my connection is very slow, so give me 1 minute.
Hello, guys.
Hi, Federico. You can hear me, right? The connection is very weak.
Frederica, the line is breaking.
I can hear the other. I can't hear you, Federico. I can hear the other guys.
Line is breaking, Federica. Line is breaking still.
Likewise, even for me. $18, $17, IT. Quick time. Where is quick time?
Line is breaking.
Sabah. अभी आवाज
Executive Director of Itigov Consulting. We are working mainly with the real estate companies and mainly, hello, can you hear me, guys? Hello? Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, okay. So mainly we're working with the different real estate entities, and then at the same time, I'm one of the instructors in the Dubai Land Department's educational sub-entity, which is Dubai Real Estate Institute, and we're working with the dozens and hundreds of different real estate brokers. So what we're doing is we're doing in-house trainings, and we're consulting them. And I myself, I've been working entire my professional career in the real estate industry. So we'll pass the word to my colleagues.
That's your bandwidth. Hi, Frederico, are you with us?
Guys, can you hear me? He just texting in the group to introduce yourself.
Oh, okay, fine.
Okay, so I believe my introduction is done, so you can, I believe, go ahead. So I'll be the second host.
All right.
There's a message for me. I'm going to go ahead now. Thank you very much, first of all, for IPS, Frederico, and the team to take this initiative during these unprecedented times where we are somehow or the other confined to work in the manner that we are currently. So for myself, my name is Awais Akhtar Bhatt. I am the CEO and co-founder for Ethis Dubai. It's a Singapore-based crowdfunding company where we arrange funds for the under construction real estate projects which are based in Dubai. So the unique thing about our proposition is that we work with land department's initiative, similarly what IPS does basically here, and where we target the developers who are looking for finance to fund their under construction projects in Dubai. And similarly, on the other side, the lenders or the willing participants in the crowdfunding who are happy to invest their funds at lucrative interest against something which is very much collateralized, which is 150% security covered, assets which are based in Dubai, substantially completed. They have the avenue to invest the money and to generate some good lucrative returns, because as we know, in the changing times and all that, all the banks across the world, either they are paying something close to zero or 1%, 2%. That's the case in most of the countries. So this is crowdfunding is a platform which digitally provides this fintech solutions to both the investors who intends to lend towards the real estate properties and the borrowers, which happens to be the real estate developers in this case, who want to borrow money in order to complete their ongoing projects. Because we all know that the banks have got a limited appetite even after the injection of this new liquidity and all, especially when it comes towards the under construction projects or the under construction sector. The banks are there for the ready properties probably, the banks are there for ready projects probably, but under construction is a market which is still a lot underserved. So this is where Ethis Dubai comes in. We work with Dubai Land Department, as I said. It's a very unique kind of a structure which is in place, and we provide funding to under construction real estate projects, and the borrowers, they have the opportunity to be part of the real estate instead of not only buying a unit or renting a unit or leasing a unit, by just investing through our platform into a real estate project. So that's what we do.
Right, okay. I think I'll take on from here. Awais?
Yeah, sure.
Right. Hi guys. Hi Frederico and team. Thank you for having me invited for this webinar. Well, I'll just give a very brief introduction. At Realize 360, we basically or primarily work with a lot of real estate brokerages. Our main services are basically photography, videos, and one of the key things that has of late picked up is 3D walkthrough virtual reality tours. I'm glad that we are part of the real estate ecosystem. From the time this COVID thing has happened, we have seen a spike in the number of inquiries we are now getting for virtual tours in specific. And yeah, it's just a situation we all are currently in. But it's good to see that people have started researching. People are now planning on the changes or the changes in strategy that they need to adapt, specifically from the marketing side of things. I'm not here going to speak about real estate and transactions and stuff, because you guys who are into real estate know it best. We are here to support the industry as a whole. And what we are seeing is, from the current scenario, people have now started taking visuals seriously, and we are definitely seeing this happen. Most cases, agents used to or not used to consider photography as an integral part of their marketing. But now we're seeing that has changed. The attitude has changed rather in specific. And yeah, this is all for good, because eventually it is very important for us to understand the customer journey, the touch points where the customer can be tracked, so that we can then take the first primary thing is to win the customer. But unfortunately, not many people understand that well. So this is our kind of business model, wherein we work with real estate companies, property brokers, holiday home companies, so in specific. And these are the services that we cater to. And we are seeing, from the time things have gone restricted, people are finding ways, people are researching, people are talking, discussing, to find what are the best practices they can adapt. And not only from current market perspective, but also going forward, what are the best practices that is going to help them win customers.
Actually, I would like to add, I get a lot of questions from different people who are working in the real estate industry. I get a question related to developers. I get a lot of questions related to the tenancies and to the landlords and to the brokers. So I'd like to share my personal opinion on all of these parties, which I feel very important, especially the opinion is expressed, I would say, without censor, and expressed in a way the way you think. So regarding developers and development projects, I personally think that there will be in a certain challenge, there will be in a certain problem. I will call it a problem. They will have a lot of challenges selling off-plan units, which have been so popular before, or let's say even till now in Dubai, because developers were paying super high commissions, and a lot of brokers who have been so successful in the secondary market of the real estate, they have been a kind of, I don't want to say dreaming, but they have been in a kind of mood to be able to close so many off-plan transactions, but they were in a kind of challenge to leave secondary market and go for primary market. So I believe that this era for now, it's ended. Because now people will be scared to invest in the off-plan properties. First of all, yes, there is a huge regulation from the government side to control developers, to control all the projects, to make sure that it's super safe. After they establish RERA, after the escrow accounts were launched, it's safe. But people, when they invest, they want to invest in some physical real asset. And right now, we'll see a significant drop in the sales of the off-plan properties, off-plan units. And coming now from developers to the brokers, those people who have been working in the primary segment, I see that they are right now, I have a lot of friends working in the primary market, selling units of developers, and I see them in a certain challenge to sell. And they're asking me, Ahmed, what should we do? So my opinion is adjust and divert. Adjust and divert. If something is going wrong in the market, the worst thing, what you can do now, what you can do, for example, right now during the crisis, or literally during any crisis, if you see the wall, if you just keep hitting the wall, this is the worst thing that you can do. If you're working in the real estate, in the primary sector, I believe that the brokers should be diverting from primary segment more to the secondary segment, in order to pass the time, in order to earn commissions, in order to generate some income, in order to cover their daily expenses. So this is what I would like to say regarding the developers as one of the side, regarding the brokers who are working on the primary segment, and the tenants. I would like now to touch tenants, because almost except some few in Dubai, most people are renting, and some investors who are living here, they own their own properties, and we know that a huge chunk of investors or property owners, they are living outside of UAE, outside of Dubai. Those people who are tenants who are renting, I'm sure you have seen the new announcement of RDC and Dubai Land Department that there will be no eviction. So the first thing that any tenant should do, either you're renting an apartment, having a tenancy contract or a jari, or you are renting a room or literally a bed space, the best thing that you can do, and you have to do this, the step number one is to negotiate your rent with your landlord, referring to the fact that your income significantly had dropped, and you need, in order for you to keep continuing paying and holding your tenancy, you need the landlord to reconsider your rent. So this is the step number one. And for example, in case of bounce checks, of course, landlord can file a case, but from RDC there will be no eviction. So this is not really the best case for both parties. I would say even for the landlords, in order, rather than going through the hassles, it's better for them to reduce, let's say, 5, 6, 7,000 dirhams in the tenancy contract and keep the tenants. And I would like to say the last word for this, my couple of minutes speech regarding investors. A lot of people asking me the question, should I invest now? Should I invest now? Should I invest now? My answer is yes, absolutely, 100%. If anyone who is having a hardcore or a hard cash in hands, the best time to invest, it's now. Now, I don't mean now, today. I mean in this period of time. Let's say, yesterday, one of the person asked me a question, would you invest today? Give honest answer. I said no. So he asked when. I said after a couple of months. Why? Because after a couple of months, the Dubai will be in the middle of the summer, and we know the summer in UAE, it's a kind of a dead season. We call it a dead season. There is a Ramadan, then people are traveling out of the country. So I would wait for this period for the investment. And okay, so would you like to add, colleagues?
Well, I think from my side, yeah, Federico, are you back, or should we continue?
Federico, its line is breaking.
Yeah, still, I think it's not.
Line is breaking. About the real estate, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to actually add on to what you correctly pointed out with regards to buying off plan and all that. I think it's also this kind of a crisis. It provides an opportunity to redesign the business model for the developers in a way. And that's what we have seen also in the past, because I myself, I've been associated with the banking and finance industry, mainly real estate financing and all for the last 15, 16 years in UAE. So what we have witnessed that all that business modeling, which was done on the basis that the customers or the end buyers who are going to buy off plan, and then that money comes in and goes towards the construction, I think needs to change a little bit, where the developers will be offering more and more ready properties to the end buyers for them to buy. Because anyone to invest and buy a property now, I think it's a more better proposition for them in order to go for something which they can replace with rent. So they don't pay rent, instead they pay the monthly installment towards the mortgage that they've got. So, and this is what we've been seeing it for the last few years, that the more and more developers are offering these kind of relaxed payment plans, where the post handover payment plan, 5 years post handover, 4 years post handover, or they are front loading all the payments which are there to be made. So I think that leaves the developers with kind of a deficit in terms of their cash flow financing. And this is where we come in, because as I said, that the crowdfunding works as an alternate way of financing the under construction projects. And that's why the land department has their own one specific initiative, which is called as Real Estate Investment Opportunities by the name of RIOs. So that drives this entire initiative of crowdfunding, where the developers can somehow or the other fulfill their cash flow financing needs through crowdfunding. If they can get financing from other means through banks and financial institutions, well and good. If they can't, then crowdfunding somehow or the other, under the patronage of Dubai Land Department's RIO initiative, gives them the opportunity to go and finance their cash flows, complete the projects in time, because as we all know that the expo is going to be now postponed for another year's time. So now the developers have got another 1 year in order to complete before the expo, so that they can showcase not only to the market here, which is there locally available in GCC and UAE, but to the global audience, because we all expect around 20-25 million people to come and visit. So that could be good opportunity for the developers to ramp up the progress of their construction in order to get the financing, if they need financing through these alternative means, which DLD is also encouraging it, and to complete the projects on time. Then once they have a ready inventory on hand, then they can go out in the market and sell it through the bank finance for the end users. So the end users have got a finance, they are replacing their rental with the monthly installment, which for their own home, all they need to do is they need to inject some 25%, 30% equity from their pocket, and then they move into their own house. And at the same time, the projects can be completed on time. On the other side on the other side of the table, it includes the interested investors who want to have some kind of a share in Dubai's real estate market. But as I said, they want to start with small. They don't want to start with buying a studio or a unit. So our platform gives the investors an opportunity to invest with as low as 10,000 dirhams. So anyone who is interested in investing in any of the real estate projects, they can invest by investing by 10,000 dirhams. So this is how it changes the entire dynamics of the financing of under construction real estate here in Dubai.
Ahmed, are you listening to me?
Yes, now we can hear you, Federico.
We can hear you.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I'm sorry, gentlemen, but I think that I had a massive downturn, like with the
maybe
COVID-19.
kids were downloading some
I
games.
don't know, but I know that was really deep. So
because I asked my wife, don't watch any videos.
Yeah. Same thing here. So I'm sorry, all gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, for this breakout. But I think that you were in a very good company. These gentlemen are very resourceful, and they are also riding the wave of new technology and new disruptiveness. I want to bring a subject in, if you don't mind, the polls. And one of the polls says that the business behavior, the way that we do business, is going to change completely. So we now understand that on the side, on the financing, we do have a strong tool that it's called crowdfunding that will come and gain their space. And I'm going to ask you, Ahmed, where will the business be different? And I'm sorry if you already gone through this. When will what do you see the difference changes? So will we have more realtors? Will we have more developers with hands-on business? What do you think?
Okay, thank you very much, Federico. Very interesting question, and that's the question that will touch everyone right now in the industry. So absolutely, I see entire transformation of the entire industry, where I have a lot of friends working in the primary segment, selling off plans. I have other friends working in the secondary, some company owners and so on. So right now I see that the selling of off plan, it's almost 99% it's stuck. So people are facing a real challenges. I'm talking about the real estate brokers to sell off-plan properties, where developers somehow can sell them because of having some list of the investors who invested before and they want to invest now. A certain trust is already built, but for the brokers, it will be challenging to get new clients, to get new leads. For developers, somehow it will be moving, but for brokers, I don't believe in this. So I see a huge transformation that a lot of real estate brokers will have to move to the, unfortunately for them, to the rental transactions, because not all the, why it's unfortunately for them, because those people who are having appetites of receiving commissions of 100,000 dirhams, or let's say $20,000 from one transaction, selling off-plan property, right now it will be a challenge for them. So they will have to move to the rental transactions where closing one deal, they can earn $1,000, for example. I will speak in dollars, maybe we have some international audience. So here their income is significantly reducing by 10 or 20 times, for example, per transaction. So this is the transformation, what I see in the market. Will there be a lot of realtors? I don't think so. I think there will be opposite effect where the number of realtors will be reducing, because literally I know people who are saying, Ahmed, like, see, if there is 1 month without any transaction, I'll just literally go back to my home country. So, and these are the people who have been a kind of stars selling units of developers. So right now they are facing this challenge. So brokers will be less in the market. A kind of, I don't want to call it clean up, but a kind of refreshment in the market will be there. Regarding developers will be facing very big challenges because they have a certain cost on a certain product to sell, and the market is literally day by day, the prices, I don't want to say going down to do not demotivate people, but the prices are reducing. I will say prices are reducing.
So you don't feel like, for example, on the crisis of 2008, when we had the lack of financing, the lack of money, when everything, the floor just came out, you believe that that may reflect here, or do you think that the government support that is being given to everybody and the liquidity that is injected on market and banks might help developers and they will come out strong?
With I'm not sure, did I get the question clearly? Regarding the
you were discussing the fact that you believe that developers will pass a hard time due to financial establishment, but we are seeing also, different from 2008, we are seeing injection of money from governments and into banks also, something that we didn't have in 2008.
Okay, so
do you think that will attenuate a little bit?
We see now two initiatives, two major initiatives. The initiative number one is when money was injected, and initiative number two is that now, in order for you to get a mortgage, maximum before it was 75% that you get, now it's 80%, right? So those who are end users, they can get it much more easily. Still, I don't think it will make a much difference. Developers, they can finish their project, but the challenge will be to sell it, not to complete it. They can complete it somehow, but to sell it, this will be a major challenge for them.
Got it. Fauzan, you also took a dive like me outside our webinar. We have a question here saying that a pool saying that digital originated leads and online visits will definitely be the future regarding for what we are listing here. Now more than ever, 360 visits are it. So tell us a little bit. Will most of the realtors here, most of the brokers are thinking, but that is very expensive. That is something that will also change because demand will be high.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you on the price front. Yes, there is always, it's mutual between the company or the agent who wants to get it done. It's unfortunate that people never took it seriously, but now, like I said in my introduction, we've seen a 300% spike in the number of inquiries we've got, and more specifically for the virtual tours. And very well, we had been working for the past 2 years and so, but there have been very specific companies or top agents who only used 3D, and most specifically for their sales listing. Why? This basically allows a lot of convenience to the end user to explore the property from the comfort of their home or their office. All right. It has now become all the more important because this is technically the best means of media for agents or brokerages to reach the customers. Don't get me wrong. This is not going to sell your property. This should be looked up as a tool. So there is photos, there is videos, and there is 3D. So currently 3D virtual tours are the best form of media where you can allow the customer to have complete access of how the property is. Because I've seen a lot of communication ongoing on LinkedIn where people are unfortunately not understanding the concept, or they are just making weird assumptions that this will not sell. Of course, this will not sell. This is a technology which is supposed to support your cause of reaching the client, to conduct the viewings, to explain the clients. And the best thing is, the end users don't need to download it anywhere. It's no tech game or something like that. It's just one simple link which is sent to a client on either a WhatsApp or a mail, or whatever is the best form to reach him, whatever is convenient for him. They just have to click it, it opens on their phone, and they can navigate the entire property. And the best aspect of 3D virtual tours, what we have seen from experience is it's more realistic. So even when the customers will come for a physical viewing, which I'm sure will happen before they close off the deal, so whenever they come for a physical viewing, the moment of truth remains intact. So whatever they are seeing, what you're presenting is what it is. So, it all the more builds the trust factor. I've also seen a lot of sellers or landlords, I would say in specific, who also call us in to get their property short, because when they hand over their listing to the agency or to the broker, unfortunately, they see lack of an effort on the part of the agency to promote their listing the way they would like it to be promoted. So that gives us a perspective of the seller, and that is the reason why the agencies like Better Homes, why the agencies like Allsop and Allsop, they are really doing very well in getting exclusivity from the landlords or so, because they invest into technology so that the agency can have the right pictures, the right video content, the right 360 virtual tours for displaying the properties.
One of the funny facts is that I arrived to you because on Financial Times there were an article regarding a company that you represent, a technology on 360 that is very hot now in the UK, and every real estater needs to have that. So we have a lot of people here from several countries also, and locals. Is that accessible, or do you have two plateaus? You can offer other two services, one more cost effective, and that one.
Right. What we have done is, like, the times are difficult for everyone. All right. So we do understand that. And as a business, it's always economy of scale. If you want to sustain, if you want to grow, it's always economy of scale that will get you there. So what we basically do is we work out an option on the basis of commitment. So if we have a commitment, we give them a very good price. That kills the factor of them using something which is not good in quality, because it defeats the entire purpose of their investment. Eventually, all this investment is a part of their marketing, right? On the marketing side, rather. So to come back to your question, will the leads in the digital leads help post-COVID? 100% yes. People are planning to get as many of their secondary market properties, the ready properties, as Ahmed mentioned earlier as well. Like, the focus is going to shift more on the ready property side. So I'm seeing a spike of more people getting this thing done for their ready properties, for the exclusive units. And this is the time agents or companies are also analyzing to rather build solid pipelines. And that can be done when they have the right content available. So at least if they have good amount of pipeline, they can do the closures, because I'm expecting the market will go really aggressive, at least from the marketing side, at least from the inquiry side, because a lot of buyers or investors are having money in hand. Like, most of the brokers would agree on that. Like, there are investors who are ready with the money in hand. If there is a good deal, they're definitely there to cash in. And I can see this coming in the next 3 months once things get better.
Awais, I'm going to call you now to the stage. We saw here new times, new disruptiveness, and we saw here that the gentlemen that were and ladies that were with us here, they believe that most of the sector that will be more impacted is residential and retail. And so will we have, what do you think about these new waves of money, equity places on the market by governments to banks? Do you think that will be enough, or they really need to disrupt and start to think about alternative like yours? And second question is, does crowdfunding goes to all these three vectors: residential, office, and retail?
Yeah, good questions, Federico. The first question to answer with regards to the equity injection which has been done by central bank, I think it's a very, very good move, and it was very rightly positioned in a way, very rightly timed, in fact. But my point is that already there are lots of financing which has been extended in real estate and other than real estate segments also. So I think most of this funding which is being given, or most of this equity which has been injected out, it's going to be used in order to reschedule the existing financing which is there. Because I was talking to a couple of my other friends who used to be colleagues in other banks and all that. They have already started receiving loads of applications from different applicants in order to restructure their finance. So when we say restructure or reschedule, it means that they would be seeking some deferrals and all that, because as we all know that for the last 1 month, month and a half, not only here, it's globally, there is not much happening. There is not much business which is happening everywhere. So that's why the businesses, even the individuals, they need this money or these loan deferrals in order to stay afloat. So this equity which is being injected definitely and is going to be utilized in order to keep those existing finances rescheduled and all that. And certainly it's going to help in order to give away new financing. I've seen a couple of banks who have already started advertising uh, very aggressive financing schemes for the new finances and all. But that's going to be limited. But in order to make it sustainable, in order to make it a permanent source of funding for any either construction finance or ready properties finance and all that, I think the way forward is going to be alternate financing, because you should not, or one should not be confining themselves only towards a specific form of financing or funding which is available and all. Because what we have seen in the last 3, 4, 5 years happening, that the banks and financial institutions weren't really entertaining everyone which is there in the under construction sector. There's the finance is available for quasi government, large scale government developers. However, the finance with regards to the under construction, private sector, medium, small size developers, it was hardly there. And even if you are lucky to get it for one project, probably for the next project, you won't get it. Because there has been tremendous demand in the market by these large scale developers, because there was hardly anything left to give away. Because as I was explaining before you joined the stage, that I've been associated with banking and finance sector for the last 15, 16 years here in UAE. And mainly it was focused in the real estate financing sector. So I think the way forward for the first question's answer is going to be yes, it's going to be exploring the alternate financing. One thing people need to realize and understand that now this is something which, as the term being coined everywhere, it's a new normal, as they say. Wherever there is a technology, there are plus and positives to it. Because when you are going for a platform like ours, you can't really compare apples to apples, saying that, for instance, if I was paying 8% to a bank, I should be paying 8% to the crowdfunders. Here you are getting access to millions and millions of database of investors. Because as Ethis itself, if we talk about today, we've got an investor base of 25,000 to 30,000 investors from 65 different countries. This kind of an access and exposure, you don't get it if you go to a bank or a financial institution. That's a different kind of a funding. So that, I think, what do you call it, the mindset needs to be cleared in this perspective, that it's an alternate financing which has its own pros and cons, and that's another way of conventional financing which has its own pros and cons. So I think the way forward, in order to, especially to expedite and to complete, I think it's going to be towards exploring the alternate financing solutions in the real estate sector, especially when it comes to the corporate real estate. The what do you call the individual part to it, or the retail part to it, which is the individual mortgages or retail mortgages, I think still that can be very much limited and stayed with the realm of the banking and financial institutions. However, for the wholesale financing and the corporate financing, I think alternate financing needs to be definitely explored. And on the second part, on the second question that you had highlighted with regards to the second question was with regards to completion of the projects which are ongoing, right? That's what you asked.
No, I ask. As I understood well, you will be a very valuable tool for developers, and by assessing new equity that comes from crowdfunding. So, and we on our pools, we have here that the sectors that the delegates that are attending this event believe that the sectors that will be more impacted is their residential and retail. What do you think? Which sectors will be more impacted with this? Residential, office, or retail?
Well, you see, I think it will be a little too early to judge into any such conclusion that which sector is going to be impacting most. But the more I would say the more optimum kind of a choice is going to be either retail or offices. Retail being because we will see people because the e-commerce thing is taking over somehow or the other, all this retail activity. So that is a sector where the new investment probably would not be going. But again, it would vary from country to country. Here, what we are seeing a lot of expansion happening, especially by the large tier 1 developers in the retail sector. I see a lot of malls being built up, and we were talking about by likes of Emaar and Nakli who are building up these malls. And they are building up not only out of thin air, they are building up upon some analysis that they already have. They have already seen the kind of retail growth which has taken place here in UAE. So in any other country, probably things could be different, but here in UAE, I think retail very much is going to be intact, especially when we talk about in the next near future. So is the case going to be with the residential sector. Because the residential sector, we can see, especially in Dubai, when we talk about, there are a lot of adjacent emirates which are there and people residing over there. And for the last 1 year, 2 years, what we have seen happening, people have been moving, migrating from one emirate to another emirate where they can find some good, affordable choices to live in and stay. So they move in there. I would like just to ask also one of the questions. I would just like to add on what I was saying in the previous answer. Yes, we serve to the developers of the real estate sectors in terms of the funding choice. However, at the same time, our crowd funders itself are the individual investors, because we have got three categories. We have got retail investors, we have got professional or sophisticated investors, and we have got market counterparties, which are institutional investors. So today, when we go out and we seek the crowdfunding solution for the developers, it's not only that we are serving the developers at what stage, but at the same time, now when the developers go and they sell their unit, all they have to sell is a studio, 1 bedroom or a 2 bedroom, or probably if they're in offices, they have to sell per square footage and all that. However, by going with the crowdfunding platform on board, you attract the investors of saying that, okay, you don't want to buy a property from me as a developer. You come and invest for a period of 1 year, 2 years, and you earn 8%, 10%, 12%, depending upon what the developer is ready to offer over a period of 1 year, 2 years time period. And you will be getting a fully securitized kind of an investment solution. So this is where the new thing comes in, where in order to gauge the confidence level of the investors, you ask them to start at a very low kind of a tier. You ask them to start at 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. You don't ask them to start at a minimum of a studio to buy, to commit themselves for a studio. So that's why the investors also, the potential investors or the end users probably, they get a chance to join the journey of the development, to stay with throughout the journey of the development, to see when the project was 50% completed, I invested 20,000. I went away with the entire under construction period. I spent 1 year, 2 years, or 1.5 years. Now the project is completed. I already have my investment in place. Why shouldn't I become a buyer? So because I've seen the developer has a track record. The developer developed, constructed on time, delivered on time. The quality which was promised is already being given. So this is where we work on both the segments. It's both the sides, the investor side, the developer side. The investors can be end users, can be individuals, can be corporate entities, and could be sophisticated investors. So all categories are covered somehow.
Thank you, always. Before I passing the ball to my wingman here, Ahmed, I want to address some of the questions here regarding Dubai and UAE. I think that the message was very clear on our first panel is, and I've been doing some webinars in the other area where I move very well, it is tourism and aviation. One thing, my friends, is for sure, we are going to rebound this. The only thing that keeps us away from the rebounding is a psychological barrier that is a disease at this time. But we are seeing forces around the disease, mainly government and with the support. And I'm seeing not only here where they're acting very fast, supporting things. Of course, it's sometimes the news. This is what we're discussing, and I'm going to ask Ahmed, how can we take this perception? The news are bad. The news are counting the disease, but on the background there is forces that are working to place things as it usual. UAE, with the quality of tourism and the life that has, it will rebound again for the same issue, because there will be also other financing to support that. Well, I'll give you a clear example. Imagine Paris. So I believe that the government of France is very occupied with dealing with the health problem and the rebound of the business, and there will be huge incentives to rebound the tourism. So everywhere where tourism were dependable, it will act again, it will happen again. So you just need to be either cautious, either active, feeling proactive. So you need to be attentive that things will come back slowly, perhaps, but will come back. Ahmed, we've seen a very interesting debate here. We saw that we have another way now for developers and investors to bring money into real estate. That will also spike some new and disruptive ideas for developers, which is very interesting. Crowdfunding always brings us that. We also saw by Fauzan that people now more than ever understood the importance of 360 viewing on the website. So, and what basically would you think that will change and in the real estate sector after this? You said that the realtors will have some kind of difficulties, but they also have a kind of a human aspect on this, so, right?
Correct. So the very interesting, I would like to bring one very interesting historical fact. Whenever we look at COVID-19, which is a pandemic situation around the world, we have to see what was in past. So at the beginning of 20th century, there was a disease, plague. There was a plague disease. And you can, by the way, do your research on this, and it's really interesting that after the plague disease, the civilization start more focusing on manufacturing, systemizing, putting a production conveyors rather than human people working in the factories. They start to make it more automated. So after COVID-19, absolutely we see that people will be moving to online part, right? And the main change in behavior, I see that the people, before going for any viewing or before coming for any meeting, which before was the main key step to sell something, now people will be saying, you know, send me walkthrough, send me 360, send me the video presentation of the property. So if they like it, then only I see them going to the viewing or to have a meeting with the broker or with the salespeople. So in this case, I have friends who are real estate company owners who are very struggling to change something. These kind of people will leave the market. Those who don't want to adjust, those who don't want to make changes, those who don't want to see the situation, to foresee the situation, to do what clients need, these people will be leaving the market.
Our last guests were discussing that the assets that are quality assets, assets that are in a very good location will be the ones first going out of rebounding this. Do you agree with that?
Okay, so this is an interesting question about the assets. A kind of luxury houses, for example, let's say Palm Jumeirah or some other, a kind of before that was considered very expensive. This will be mainly purchased by the end users. Investors will be mostly going to the houses which are the highest 500 or to 600,000 dirhams. For example, right now, I will just give you an example. Right now in the market available transactions, deals, properties, where, if I'm not mistaken, where the selling price of studio is 220,000 dirhams, and this is not the international city, it's not the remote area, 220 or 230 the highest, the selling price, where the studio is rented with one check, 30,000 dirhams. Where at the same time the studio is rented with one check, 30,000 dirhams.
Maybe you can divide that by 3.
Immediately sold, and
maybe you can divide that by 3 and give the numbers in dollars so that our guests can understand that. So
okay, sure.
Try to do it.
So okay.
It's very interesting what you said. You need to do it in dollars.
Okay, so just I'm not really good in mental math, so let me.
So
just
half a million dirhams will be more or less.
So let me give you the example first. The property, which is $62,000 available for purchase, and it is not really far from downtown. It is not really far like international city. It's not really far like Al Nahda, which is Sharjah border. It's 10 minutes driving from downtown, and it's not Dubai Silicon Oasis or this area. It's available to purchase 62,000 dirhams. And this property is rented
I think that we lost Ahmed. Fawzan, are you still here with us?
Yeah, I'm with you. Ahmed is not back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, we can. You were just about to tell how much it is for the rental.
62,000 dirhams. 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 62,000 Okay, so the rental is $8,000 per annum. This property is available. So here we're talking about the ROI now in the COVID-19, how much it will be. It will be 10+%, right? Okay, we will remove the service charges. It will be still 6-7%. In COVID-19, you're getting 6-7% ROI. And this property was sold. And this is not the only property right now available in Dubai. So obviously and absolutely, the main investors will be focusing on 500-600 or below priced properties, not like 1 million or 2 million. Before it was around 1 million, but now it's much more lower. Because now, $100,000, you can buy a nice one-bedroom apartment in Dubai.
Great. I'm going to pass the ball for Fawzan. Fawzan, how can we eliminate this gap between the value that realtors can pay to have a very good lead on the website and the cost of it? What are your recommendations from after COVID? I mean, because people need to start investing on that, on new technologies.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we have seen a spike of more than 300% specifically for the virtual tour requirement. So it's like, again, like I said, it's mutual between the agency or the agent and the provider. There's always a way out that can be worked. And in times like this, I would definitely urge my fellow service providers who are related to photography industry to lend their support to help the agents in these difficult times by offering them better quality content at a reasonable price, which is justified and fair for both parties. All right, because this content of 360 virtual tours, it's not only for now, but it is also something which is going to evolve as a standard practice. What I have seen for now is whatever agents I'm working with or the brokerages I'm working with or holiday home companies in specific, they basically are conducting viewings online using Zoom, using Skype. What they do is they screen share the virtual tour and they navigate the buyer or the tenant through the property with them, explaining them what are the benefits or the key USPs of the properties and the values and stuff. So it's not about the price game, it's more of the intent, because there is still a lot of hesitation where companies are not understanding the benefit or the power the visuals are having. Like Ahmed said in his conversation before, his clients, the companies are asking for, the buyers are asking for the 360 or the 3D virtual tour to be first sent, and then only they will take interest to view the property. That exactly is the purpose of technology, wherein you are being transparent to the owners, to the buyers or to the tenants who are interested in making that purchase. At the same time, you are also building a kind of trust with them by providing them these kinds of technology. So that's what I would say. And again, I have seen like at least the top agents who are taking this seriously, who are planning, who are making things, who are making their way out of this to ensure that by the time all these things end, they are ready with what they want to do and how they're going to execute and be prepared for future.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I will pass now the ball to Awais for a last word, the last word for everybody to spike us on a good mood so that we can go and work and carry on our sales and scouting on real estate.
The point is going as what the other colleagues I think here mentioned and what the previous panel also said, that we are all hopeful that the moment this thing is going to go on, and especially the gentleman who was talking on behalf of Veteran Homes in the previous panel, what he mentioned, that we see a lot of pent-up demand. So that pent-up demand is not only in one specific sector. We see a similar, or I personally see and my group sees a similar kind of a demand in all the sectors, especially in the real estate sector, because unlike the other crises that we had, or especially the so-called economic crises that we had, one naming in 2008, this crisis is unlike that. Everything was abruptly suspended somehow or the other. So people were doing and everything as per the normal course, and all of a sudden this thing came in and everything got suspended somehow or the other. So people are there, the demand is there, and as he said, that it's an accumulated demand, it's a pent-up demand which is there in the market, And the moment this thing goes away, and hopefully this is going to go away very, very soon, people are going to be back in business. And people are going to be back in business with a great vigor, as what I see, and a lot of enthusiasm as I see. And I was just scrolling through and seeing some of the answers given by Ahmed to one of the questions. He was still saying that I would not really like my staff to work from home. I would ask them to go back to offices and work. And this is what every one of us are going to go and do. People sometimes say that, okay, post-COVID, things are going to completely 180 degrees change and all that. I personally do not agree with it. Because you see, the way we used to work before COVID and the way we still work, it's a temporary arrangement. The way we used to work, that has been evolved by humans over a period of centuries. That's a human civilization that we call it. It's not going to change only because of this one disease somehow or the other, or the virus has come in for 2 weeks or 2 months time and all that. It will come and go. But yes, what I totally agree with, that the technology is there to change the things. We will only change the way we work, or the businesses will change the way they work if they become more efficient, they become more cost effective, and it eases them out and eases their staff out and the customers out on the top priority. However, just to get postage of anything and changing things because of the fear and all that, I personally doubt that. That is not going to happen. So the moment this thing goes away, everything is going to come back to normalcy, and it's going to come back real fast. And probably it's going to be somehow or the other better than what it was before, because people are just holding back somehow. But yes, I totally agree that there are things which are going to change. Things were changing. And the people and the businesses which are rigid and not flexible at all, they are not going to sustain. It's either post-COVID scenario or pre-COVID scenario. The technology is changing everything. So technology is changing everything, and the disruption is changing everything. So only those businesses which somehow or the other, they mend their ways, they change their stance, only those are going to survive. This I totally agree with.
Fantastic, Hawais. Thank you very much for your collaboration. Very useful. Reimaginate, reformulate, or else your business might not survive. A very good word. Fauzan, your term, you are in a very good sector where you will find your hands very busy. So give us also some optimism.
I for sure can say that. The reason is people have started taking us more seriously, and I would just keep it very minimal for now. This is the time we all can invest into making a better version of ourselves by maybe adapting or learning or building on new skills that we can monetize in future. So let's not see this time as a layover or something like that. Rather, like, better to build ourselves up, and things will sure get to normal. One thing I know about Dubai for sure is it will not take any time to lift us up from where we are today. So what is important for now is to stay healthy, follow the rules, and just do the best you possibly can and learn on things that you wanted to do. Okay, don't waste this time. This is not going to come back. So when the time comes to do your part of action, just be ready for it. That's all I can say.
Very good. Thank you very much. Take the best out of your time on this situation. Ahmed, any final words?
The world didn't end. When I gave the example of plague disease, I wanted to say that when it reached the peak of its severe strength, it took 1 year to just disappear for plague. Imagine, and it was beginning of 20th century. No medicines, no know-how, no medical, pharmaceutical industries developed, no technologies. So definitely COVID-19, we have no doubts that it will end. We just need to get ready. When we will come out from our cave, we just must be much more stronger than when we were going into this cave, because there will be probably a high unemployment, and you have to be the best in your industry.
Ahmed, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for being my wingman on this chaotic network scenario. Thank you, gentlemen. You're very useful. Thank you very much. And I also need to thank you, all the guys that were here with us during this time. We will be back, IPS and DPF, with the high patronage of the Biland Department. We will be back next week with a more technical webinar. And then every 2 weeks, we will have a State of Aviation, where legends from the real estate sector will come here and share their thoughts and share their strategy and time with this environment. So the rebound